The moment I saw the footage, a cold knot formed in the pit of my stomach, tightening with every frame. It wasn't a mistake, not a misunderstanding. It was intentional, arrogant, and breathtakingly brazen. My new security camera, the one she had scoffed at, had captured it all in crisp 4K, her perfectly coiffed hair, the smug tilt of her head, the precise, deliberate way she plucked the package from my porch and, with a quick glance up and down the street, walked away as if she owned the world, and everything in it. My heart hammered against my ribs, a dull, angry drumbeat. How dare she? A deep, shuddering breath escaped my lips. This wasn't just about a package, this was about a line she had crossed, a boundary she had pulverized with her entitlement. And for what? The package contained a book, nothing more. A book. She had risked a federal offense for a paperback. The sheer absurdity of it made my blood run hot with a mix of fury and disbelief. I replayed the clip again, the sound of her expensive sandals scuffing against the concrete, the telltale rustle of the cardboard. I needed to act, but not with an impulsive scream. No, a direct confrontation would be a waste of breath. She would deny, deflect, and probably fine me for the misplaced garden gnome I had yet to move. Her power, her self-appointed reign over our little corner of suburbia, was built on a foundation of terror and gaslighting. I couldn't just knock on her door and ask for my mail back. My personal peace and sanity were at stake, and honestly, the whole neighborhood was tired of her. We were all weary of the endless, passive-aggressive notes about lawn height, the public humiliations, the weaponization of the HOA's bylaws. My hands trembled slightly as I picked up the phone. A deep sigh, then I dialed a number I never thought I'd use, the United States Postal Inspection Service. I was so nervous, my voice wavered slightly. A kind-sounding, professional voice answered, "Postal Inspection Service, how can I help you?" I took another breath, trying to steady myself. I think someone stole my mail, I managed to say, the words catching in my throat. The postal inspector's voice was calm, almost soothing. He listened patiently as I explained, my narrative punctuated by hesitant pauses. "You said you have video evidence," he asked, his voice now taking on a more serious, methodical tone. "Yes," I said, the word a small, desperate gasp of hope. "Crystal clear." There was a pause on his end, a long one. "You know, this isn't the first time we've heard about someone on your street," he said, his voice lowering just a bit, "specifically, this person." He didn't mention her name, but I knew. My heart jumped. So, it wasn't just me. A wave of both validation and dread washed over me. He asked for the video, which I sent over. He called me back in an hour. "Alex," he said, "we have a plan. We're going to conduct a sting operation. We need your help." My stomach flipped. A sting operation? This was no longer just about a book. This was a whole new level of drama. He outlined the plan, a bait package. Something valuable, but not so much that it would be a major loss if it went missing. He wanted a piece of mail that was undeniably enticing. Something with a little weight to it, he suggested. Maybe it rattles a little. He wanted to make it irresistible, a temptation she couldn't possibly ignore. He would be watching, not just with cameras, but with a whole team. The plan was so intricate, so perfectly thought out, it felt like something out of a movie. I was a protagonist in my own suburban thriller. I had to go along with my normal routine, pretend everything was fine. No nervous glances, no suspicious behavior. Just a normal person, going about his normal day, unaware that a trap was being set. A part of me felt guilty, but another, far stronger part, felt a fierce, righteous fire. She had pushed me too far, and now, the universe, or at least the USPS, was pushing back. I just needed to hold my nerve. The day of the sting felt like an eternity. Every shadow seemed to be a lurking figure, every car a plainclothes investigator. The bait package, a small, padded envelope with a fake company logo and a return address in a fancy font, sat on my porch, a ticking time bomb. Inside was a tracking device, a tiny, silent sentinel. I watched from my living room window, my breath held captive in my chest. And then, there she was. Karen. She was on her morning walk, her usual, high and mighty stroll, head held high as if she were inspecting her royal grounds. She paused at my mailbox, adjusted a perfectly manicured rose on her bush, and then her eyes, hawk-like, landed on the package. The casual facade dropped, replaced by a flicker of greed, a predatory gleam. She circled my porch like a vulture, pretending to check my garden for weeds, all the while her eyes were glued to the package. My knuckles were white, clutching the back of a chair. Oh, the suspense was unbearable. Would she do it? Would her arrogance win out over her apathetic sense of self-preservation? A moment of hesitation, a long, drawn-out pause. Then, she made her move. Quick, decisive. She grabbed the package, tucked it under her arm, and continued her walk, not missing a beat. Just a fraction of a second, but it was all the inspectors needed. My phone buzzed. A text from the inspector, "We have her." My shoulders dropped, a heavy exhale escaping my lips. Relief, hot and overwhelming, washed over me. And then, a new kind of anticipation. The showdown. The confrontation was swift and merciless. Karen was almost home, her heels clicking on the pavement, a smug smile on her face. Suddenly, two unmarked vehicles pulled up, one in front of her, one behind. Two men in official-looking jackets and badges stepped out. "Ma'am," one of them said, his voice a low rumble, "U.S. Postal Inspectors. We need to speak with you." Her face, that mask of condescending confidence, instantly fell apart. A small, horrified gasp escaped her. What?" she stammered, clutching the package to her chest like a shield. "I don't know what you're talking about," she tried to rally, her voice shaky. But the gig was up. They had the evidence, the tracking data, and the witnesses. A moment later, a uniformed officer from the local police department arrived. The inspector calmly explained the situation, and then, he took the package from her. "The contents of this package have been tracked," he said, holding it up, "from the moment it left the post office to the moment you picked it up. We have you on multiple cameras, and we have witnesses." Her face went white, a true, blood-draining pallor. She looked around, panicked, her eyes darting from the officers to her neighbors, who were now openly watching from their windows and driveways. The silent, terrified whispers were the worst part for her. It wasn't the law she feared most, it was the judgment of her peers, the neighbors she had spent so long trying to control. The pride, the carefully constructed facade of her perfect life, was crumbling before her very eyes, shattering into a million pieces on the asphalt. The aftermath was a symphony of shattered glass and whispers. The neighbors, emboldened by her public downfall, came out of the woodwork. One woman showed me a folder full of her own saved HOA letters, each one a petty, humiliating complaint from Karen. Another man shared how Karen had once threatened to have his dog's kennel removed because it was aesthetically displeasing. The HOA board, in a swift, unanimous vote, stripped her of her position. They were just as relieved as everyone else. The truth was, she had been a tyrant, and we had all just been too afraid to challenge her. It felt like a weight had been lifted from the entire street. Children played in yards without fear of a snide comment about a misplaced toy. People actually said hello to each other again, their smiles no longer forced. A real sense of community, a genuine warmth, began to blossom where a cold, judgmental silence had reigned. I didn't get my book back, and the bait package was taken for evidence, but it didn't matter. The price was worth the peace, the sweet, beautiful, glorious peace that had returned to our lives. But in the quiet moments, I sometimes wonder about the morality of my actions. I set a trap. I baited her, knowing full well what she would do. I didn't confront her directly, I chose a calculated, strategic path that led to her public humiliation. Was I in the right to do that? Or did I stoop to her level of manipulation and cruelty? Was my action of setting her up for a fall justified, or should I have handled it differently? What do you think is the right thing to do when a bully can only be stopped by a trap? Share your thoughts.